We don't want to miss any gems. So yes, even though it's just you and I, let's record.
Yeah, so I was really pleasantly surprised when I was going through the first couple, I think the first five lessons in the Course in Miracles, which, years ago when I first started studying it, I understood nothing. It was like I have no idea what these people are talking about, but I was inspired by the work. I knew it had jewels in it. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And now, with the understanding that we've been having, going through the Course in Miracles and I love the way we're doing it, where we read a paragraph, and then we're able to create this kind of group interpretation of what we feel it's saying, and we banter back and forth until we feel like we land on it. And I think we're really close to the mark as far as the intent of what was being the meaning that was the intention of the author. We don't know who that is because it certainly wasn't people who wrote it, but we'll just call it the Christ consciousness. It really has it rings true to me that all we do see is the separated mind, because we're seeing bodies, we're seeing personalities, and we think we have all that difference when if we're looking through the eyes of the atonement as the Course defines it, all there is just oneness. All there is this expression of God in the myriad forms. And that's when the first five lessons of the Course in Miracles just kind of solidify that. And I find it really beautifully synchronistic that that's how they start the Course, is by teaching people that they're seeing only through a separated mind. And it's not real.
Mm. And I've picked it up a few times and can read through it casually, but this is a whole other level of when we can actually talk about it and dig into it and get each other's perspectives. It is definitely the concept of the mastermind where mm, we create something bigger than ourselves when we actually have this kind of conversation. Mm.
I absolutely agree. At some point, I'm gonna go to our little Unitarian Universalist church here in the Villages, and which I've spoken at a couple times. I think I've spoken there a couple times, um, and they're very, very sweet and very, very old, like very, very old, and when I mentioned at one point that I'd love to, if I ever moved here, which I have, that we start a Course in Miracles group at that church, they were like, "Oh, we'd love that." Hey, Linda.
Hello, you made it.
Morning. I forgot what day it was. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I
And
just
so
thought you
I
might be
what
out
I
of
thought
range.
Sorry.
what I thought was that I would invite them to this meeting, which I think would be very interesting.
Yeah.
If I ever start it, that's what I'll do. What are
Mm.
you eating over there, young lady?
Wheat Bix and coconut yogurt.
Oh, sounds pretty yummy.
It is
Looks
good.
pretty looks
Like I
pretty
say, I forgot what day it was. I'm back on the road again. I only just woke up. I couldn't be bothered getting up earlier. And I was standing outside eating my breakfast while Gracie's running around having a fat time. And I thought, shit, it's Wednesday. God.
Where are you? It's all misty out there by the looks of it.
Um, I'm in Meriden.
Oh, Meriden.
Hmm.
Wow.
I know.
That's definitely not the way you headed when you left Sydney.
No, I got to when I left you, I actually went through to Pingrup
Oh
because they
yeah.
got silo art there. So I thought I'll go where the
Um,
silo art is. And then from there, I came up to Meriden yesterday.
Wow.
Mm.
He was following a cute boy. That's what she was doing.
Oh, I wish. If only.
Linda's definitely making her own path.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
good for
should
you.
we,
Good to have you, Linda.
Thanks.
shall we pull up the
Yeah.
course and see what
Let's
you're up to?
let's get started.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's what we're here for, isn't it?
It is what we're here for. We just can't talk about cute men and exchange beauty secrets now, can we?
I don't have any beauty secrets, as you can tell. And boys, no. Not on the agenda at the moment, no.
Not on the agenda, that's for sure.
So
Where do we?
We're up to that first one there on that page.
I'll go ahead and read.
Yeah.
For perfect effectiveness, the atonement belongs at the center of the inner altar, where it undoes the separation and restores the wholeness of the mind. That's what we were talking about, V.
Yes.
Before the separation, the mind was invulnerable to fear because fear did not exist. Both the separation and the fear are miscreations that must be undone for the restoration of the temple and for the opening of the altar to receive the atonement. This heals the separation by placing within you the one effective defense against all separation thoughts and making you perfectly invulnerable. I love that paragraph.
Yeah. So just to clarify as well, we're on the part, the altar of God. So now we're talking about the altar, which I think is the first time it's come up in our reading.
I keep thinking the altar is our bodies. Because for perfect effectiveness, the atonement belongs at the center of the inner altar, where it undoes the separation, restores the wholeness of the mind. So I keep thinking that's like our hearts, our compassion, our empathy, our core, our sense of self.
Yeah, it's definitely not a building.
Definitely not.
Not from this reading.
Now, I personally love it when it says, before the separation, the mind was invulnerable to fear because fear did not exist. And that's because before the separation, you can't have fear with a unified mind because you're already in the atonement. You're already in that state of oneness, so you can't have fear. This is my big question. Now, I think in my own personal, very minuscule way, I really do believe I know how the separation happened. But what do you guys think? I mean, it talks about the separation. How do you think what happened to create the separation? That's a huge question. I just want to see what you guys think. It's a huge question.
Well, I don't think of it as the whole Christian thing because I think of it more of, from the study and things that I've done, especially with you, Gary. It's more about, we are separated once we're born because we come into this world with a purpose, and we forget what it is once we actually arrive here, and our whole journey through life is to remember, and then we leave again. And that's where the separation is, when we actually are born into this dimension, and we're trying to find our way back.
I like that. Linda, what do you think?
Yep. My idea of the separation is the minute that we choose to come to Earth. The minute that we choose to have a body. So yeah, I completely agree with you, V.
I'm gonna stretch it out and take it a little bit further. I think the separation happened before that. I think that remember that whole story about the darshan experience in India and all that? When I said I got bored, I said to myself, oh, I think I get bored with this ecstatic love and this oneness and ecstasy in God. If it was for eternity, I couldn't hang there. And I think it has more to do with desire. Like we desired something else other than the love of God, other than oneness. At least I did. I had other desires. And I remember reading once that Buddha said that all suffering comes from desire, like all suffering, which means separation, a sense of lack and a sense of want, which would indicate that, you can't be content in this state of oneness. So for me, I think it goes way beyond. I think it goes back to when we became curious about what else there was to experience in life, and we left God. We did, because we wanted to experience something different than the atonement. Anyways, that's what I'm taking away from it.
Mm. Oh, I think it's great that people have different ideas about it. All comes back to the same perspective, I believe, but how we actually end up there is quite interesting.
Both the separation and the fear are miscreations that must be undone for the restoration of the temple and for the opening of the altar to receive the atonement. This heals the separation by placing within you the one effective defense against all separation thoughts and making you perfectly invulnerable. Who wants to read number 3?
I could do that. Well, where you want to go, Linda?
That's all right, whatever you like. But I was just going to say, if I read, you need to make it a little bit bigger, please.
Okay. I'll make it a bit bigger and you can read it, because the next one might be a bit tricky to make bigger. So in order to keep it on the same page. Is that better?
Yes, that's lovely.
Now this is the thing. It's gone on to the other page. And that's now it's not on the same page.
If Linda does the next one, we can just make it big for her for the next one.
You can make the page. You can make the page width bigger, wider. If you go back to that menu that you were in.
Now I've lost the menu. Gone. Now it's gone, and I don't know where we are now. Where have I put us? I was getting too clever for myself there. Who knows where we are now?
Well, we're up at 6, so we were at 3, weren't we?
I don't have the menu back, so I'm going to have to close this and have a fiddle around with it. Sorry. Talk amongst yourselves.
That's okay. Do you have a kitty cat, Linda?
Sorry?
Do you have a cat?
I do, Gracie.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, you can see her.
I can.
Yeah.
She looks very pretty.
She's beautiful. Gracie.
Is she a loving
cat? She ignores me every time.
Is she a loving cat or just an independent, I love you when I want to love you?
She's becoming more loving on the journey that we've had. She was a rescue cat. And she's changed a lot over the years, and she's becoming a lot more loving, and I'm becoming more trusting of her as well. So it's that kind of double-edged sword thing going on. So I let her out on her own now, but I do like to watch where she is.
Yeah, I bet.
Where she's going, especially with snakes and stuff around, although it's probably a bit cold for them now.
was so funny. I was going to say, yeah, you got to be careful of coyotes. And then I remembered you don't have coyotes in Australia.
Okay.
No,
We have
lots of
dingoes, though.
foxes. Lots of foxes, sadly, were on the road as I came up yesterday. I think there was 3 that I saw. So for the 3 that I saw, there's a lot more around.
Yeah.
But yeah, but Gracie actually got bit by a black ant the other day, day before, when we pulled up at Pingrub. And she just went crazy mad for about half an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, constantly licking that same spot on her paw, and yeah, she just went crazy. So I just kept an eye on her. I don't know what I was going to do if she declined, because there really wasn't anybody around. But
Did you
tough
try
like mum.
purification?
No, I didn't put anything on her.
That one's
You
okay.
should use Rescue
Is
Remedy.
it? Okay.
You can get Rescue Remedy cream and put it on, and it'll numb the pain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have
Thank
now
you.
found the
Well
right spot
done.
again. So I'll read number 3 and you can do number 4, Linda. As it
Okay.
goes on. All right. The acceptance of the atonement by everyone is only a matter of time. This may appear to contradict free will because of the inevitability of the final decision, but this is not so. You can temporize and you are capable of enormous procrastination, but you cannot depart entirely from your creator, who set the limits on your ability to miscreate. An imprisoned will engenders a situation which, in the extreme, becomes altogether intolerable. Tolerance for pain may be high, but it is not without limit. Eventually, everyone begins to recognize, however dimly, that there must be a better way. As this recognition becomes more firmly established, it becomes a turning point. This ultimately reawakens spiritual vision, simultaneously weakening the investment in physical sight. The alternating investment in the 2 levels of perception is usually experienced as conflict, which can become very acute, but the outcome is as certain as God.
Mm.
It's about the comfort zone for me. It's like, how uncomfortable do you have to get before you want to get out of the comfort zone?
That first line kind of tweaks me a little bit, because I've never thought of everyone waking up together. Like that doesn't seem plausible to me. The acceptance of the atonement by everyone is only a matter of time. That I kind of get. I guess it's not talking about temporal at that point.
Yeah, it's not everyone all at once.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
and
I think
understand
that's
that journey.
I think that's absolutely true, that everyone gets to the point at some point in their journey that they go, I am suffering too much and I would love to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Where they say eventually everyone begins to recognize, however dimly, that there must be a better way. It's interesting, when we call people sheep, they all follow each other and they do everything that everybody else does and what have you. I mean, that's how I see society. But then I have a very deranged outlook on society these days. And it's not, and with, if I guess I'm taking it from experience as well. If you talk to somebody about like essential oils, for example, or plant-based cleaning products where, there's no chemicals or anything involved, and you can just see the look on people's faces. They're like, especially when you say, well, no, you can't get it in the supermarket. Oh, where do you get it from then? Oh. But then, like, they're not interested. is it actually going to come to a point? When is the coin going to flip where people actually realize that having chemicals in your home, or that essential oils can actually help in the healing process, or, and everything else that's going on? This, for instance, when everybody's going to start having a look at A Course of Miracles, and when is it all going to flip so that people are more involved in that rather than pushing it to one side and going, but the rest of the sheep are going that way, we need to go that way? Do you know what I mean? Or have I gone completely mad?
No, I don't think it ever flips like a coin, because there's every one of us is at different levels of waking up. And some people, and rightfully so, are in a place where they can only see a portion of the truth, and rightfully so. Some people are waking up in leaps and bounds. I always go to this metaphor of I know you guys probably haven't ever seen the redwood forests here in America, but they are the oldest living things on the planet. Some of the trees are like 3,000 years old. I mean, they're just like ridiculously old. And some of the trunks are as big as a small house in diameter. And you sit underneath one of those and lean your back against them, and the level of information that starts to come forward from them are for me anyways was really quite stunning. And one of the things that I realized sitting with my back up against the redwood was that these trees have seedlings all over the forest floor. And if those seedlings were dug up and transplanted into the full sun where the grown trees were, they would die within a week. But because they're in the shadows of the mother and the grandfather and the grandmother trees, they survive. And I think our human evolution is a bit like that. It's like people can only digest what they can digest according to their own understanding. And that understanding is appropriate for where they're at and what their life experience has been. And for us to desire them to be further along, I think is a middle finger to God, saying, you've obviously made a mistake. It should be according to, how I deem it to be, because I certainly have done that. And I look around in America, especially living here in Arkansas, I think, oh my God, I can't believe these people believe what they believe. It makes no sense. And then hey, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect for where people are at and how they grew up and the level of experience that they've had, the exposure that they've had. They've distilled it down to a system that makes sense for them. Doesn't make sense to me, makes sense for them. And they build their life around it. And I call that a good thing. However, much like what you said, Linda, in moments when we forget the atonement, it's annoying. That's not even a word. Annoying as all get out, because it annoys the heck out of me. But when I get into the right mind, I'm like, it's all good. It's kind of perfect. But there are times when I'm just like, I'll find things coming out of my mouth that are judgmental or like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm living here. And then I'm just like, no, it's perfect. If we're going to be in that atonement that the Course speaks about, it really is about having absolutely no judgment, not seeing separation, seeing only the light of God in each person, and being good with it, being really good with it.
The no judgment is actually really difficult.
Oh God, I know.
Like when you find yourself judging somebody or something or whatever's going on, it's just immediate. like it's just the natural thing to fall into. And
it's like breathing almost. But
yeah.
somewhere we'll come in on this section in the Course in Miracles where it talks about, because I learned it from the Course in Miracles, is that when we judge, all condemnation is self-condemnation, which simply means when we're judging, we will fear attack, because judgment of others actually causes more fear in the judger's body and mind, because when we judge, criticize, and attack in thought or word or deed, we then fear retaliation, and we fear repercussions from our thoughts and our actions and our words. So rather than creating peace inside of ourselves, like if we had no judgment or condemnation for anyone, we wouldn't fear other people. But because we do, we have a sense that other people are doing the same thing to us that we've done to them. And as a consequence, our peace lessens. So for me, it's selfish to force myself not to judge, because I don't want to be miserable. And judging others makes me unhappy. And it's not that I have it down or I have it perfect, but I know that's what happens.
I'm relating this to my journey with my mum and my journey through discovering what is good for my health and wellness, and how, because mum has always had her health issues, huge health issues, and as I learned how to treat myself better, I was forcing my ideas on my mother. And of course that didn't work. And it took me so long, it took me decades to work out that it wasn't working, and to just let her go and have her own journey. And then it turned around so quickly, because then mother was asking me, what are you doing? How can I have that health? Because I stopped pushing it on her, and I was just going on my own journey and allowing her to be who she was and loving her for it. And then she was asking me how to help her own health, because I have no control over anybody else. And just letting that go and living my best life and being the best example that I can be just for me creates a opportunity for other people to just have a look and go, oh, okay, what are you doing? And you know, a lot of people won't ask. They're still stuck on their own path, and that's what they've got to do. So yeah.
What you just said, V, is a really big paradigm shift for most people. To stop attempting to force their ideas upon another and blessing that other person to let them live in the perfection of the path they're following. If they reach out to you and say, I need help, that's a whole nother thing. But to show by example, the best way to influence anyone is to live the life that you've always wanted to live and allow people to experience that in your presence. Then if they're attracted to that level of freedom, then they'll ask you questions, and then there's an opening to be able to not waste your breaths in attempting to influence someone into a direction that they may not be willing or able to go.
It's a very valuable lesson. I thank my mum for that all the time.
How does that show up in your current relationship? Are you able to translate that into your current relationship?
I don't push anything onto you, Murray. I don't push anything onto him, and I do find that he. But I'll tell him what I'm doing, and I'll leave it to him to decide. And he generally will actually take on board what I'm saying. For
Sweet.
sure. Yeah, for sure. And I do the same for him. You know, he's got a lot of valuable experience and wisdom. And I've shifted a lot of things that I have done for decades to take on board what I'm learning from him. For sure.
Well, if I ever get myself back down to Western Australia, I really would like to meet him.
He's a lovely guy.
So you met him, Linda?
I have.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, been out to the farm, had his lovely meals.
Yes.
Watch the
Taking lots of
kangaroos jump around.
Photos of the sunsets out there. Beautiful, beautiful place.
Does he have a lot of wild kangaroos on his land?
Yeah. So his house overlooks his dam in front where he's got all his marron, and then there's another hill on the other side that rises 100 meters, and his neighbor runs cattle on there, but there's also just, there'll be like 20, 30 roos who jump around in the sunset over there, and with little joeys. Yeah, it's very cute. Bird life everywhere.
When do the little joeys come? Because I know that there's breeding seasons.
So I guess I think there's always joeys running around, actually. So I don't know that.
I'm not sure if there is a season.
I don't know that they're that fussy. Yeah. I guess
it's
the kind of climate though that's perfect any time of year. There's always water.
So they just breed all year long.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow. That could become pesky.
I think there's things that shouldn't be there that are actually keeping the numbers down. I think we have feral animals like foxes, and a lot of it gets lost to roadkill as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, they don't become plague proportions. Can't say the same about the rabbits though, which are not native.
Yeah, I'm always so surprised that there's no predators other than foxes,
Right, Linda, do you want to go to number 4? Are we done with that one?
Spiritual vision literally cannot see error and merely looks for atonement. All solutions the physical eye sees dissolve. Spiritual vision looks within and recognizes immediately that the altar has been defiled and needs to be repaired and protected. Perfectly aware of the right defense, it passes over all others, looking past error to truth. Because of the strength of its vision, it brings the mind into its service. This reestablishes the power of the mind and makes it increasingly unable to tolerate delay, realizing that it only adds unnecessary pain. As a result, the mind becomes increasingly sensitive to what it would once have regarded as very minor intrusions of discomfort. Oh my God.
Heavy.
Ah.
You know what's really curious about, as we continue to go through the Course, I've often said this. I've said that the Course in Miracles says the same thing over and over and over again in different phraseology to sort of appeal to different minds. But again, this goes back to that one core principle of seeing through the eyes of the Holy Spirit, or seeing with spiritual vision, which is, of course, looking for the light of God in all things. Speaking of rabbits, there's a rabbit running down my driveway right now. And I just find it such a beautiful truth that it is the one thing that actually causes peace to the mind. I was working with a client the other day, and she came out of a really abusive marriage, one of which, she's been pretty traumatized by it. As a consequence, um, she can't kind of move past it. She's always in fear of retaliation, of things that he could do, might do down the road, and she's never at peace, not deep peace, anyways. And I gave her that Ho'oponopono process where you channel light to the other person until you see them illuminated, their body drops away, all you can see is the light of God in them, and contemplate that until you could feel love for their soul, not their personality. Minus the personality, because the personality is the light is what you're loving because that's the thing that animates everything else. But the mind and the personality are kind of like a dream made out of the separated mind. So I've been having her do that for quite a while now, and she is increasingly becoming more peaceful, less attached, less fearful, because she's slowly dismantling the illusion of the evidence of the wrongdoing that of course she experienced. And I keep thinking, the Course always says that's the only thing. This reestablishes the power of the mind and makes it increasingly unable to tolerate delay, meaning procrastination, realizing it only adds unnecessary pain. And I just think that's kind of like the answer to almost everything. Have you guys tried that particular process by chance with anyone? Okay, Veronica, what have you experienced with that?
I've done that with my sister several times. I've done that with past from ex kind of partners, and definitely does bring a level of peace and forgiveness and letting them go. And when you let them go, again, I don't have any control over them. Just have control over what I feel about it, and there's no point feeling hurt about whatever they did, because they were just doing what they are here to do, and to just take the lessons and move on. The challenge I have is that sometimes the lessons are, I have trouble letting go of the lessons, and I think they're going to keep repeating. So I'm always going, okay, well, this is happening, but I have to be careful of this. And because my focus is on that happening, I can bring that forward. That's how powerful we are. So I can bring that lesson forward and have it over and over and over again, because that's my focus.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Which I have been doing to some extent, haven't I, Linda?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I've had a bit of a challenge with Murray too, because he's got no concept of time, and he'll often show up late, or he actually I think he enjoys being late, because when the reason he's late is usually because he's creating something, like he's making some dessert or some amazing food, but he hasn't planned properly, so he always shows up late with it. And I need to be on time. I just think it's rude not showing up on time. So I struggle with him with that. So
Yeah. Yeah, that could be annoying for sure.
Yeah, but I just have to realize it's personal. It's not me.
What's the time that he's generally late? By how long of a period of time?
Oh, it varies, and sometimes he is on time. So there's no kind of, our first trip to Perth together, he was an hour and a half late before he actually got here, so we could leave.
I'd kill him.
And for him, it's like, oh, we'll just get there when we get there. Yeah. Um, Generally, if I'm there, though, yeah, he will somehow manage to make an effort, and we're not that late, like half an hour late, maybe. Yeah.
No, that's a little bearable, but hour and a half, that'd be.
Yeah. Anyway.
So do we need to pick this down, or do we kind of get it? Linda, do you get this?
Um, yeah, I kind of do. Um, I don't know. What does the next paragraph say? Maybe
It
the
does bring generally some clarification when we read the next one.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and read the next one.
Okay.
The children of God are entitled to the perfect comfort that comes from perfect trust. Until they achieve this, they waste themselves and their true creative powers on useless attempts to make themselves more comfortable by inappropriate means. But the real means are already provided and do not involve any effort at all on their part. The atonement is the only gift that is worthy of being offered at the altar of God because of the value of the altar itself. It was created perfect and is entirely worthy of receiving perfection. God and his creations are completely dependent on each other. He depends on them because he created them perfect. He gave them his peace so they could not be shaken and could not be deceived. Whenever you are afraid, you are deceived, and your mind cannot serve the Holy Spirit. This starves you by denying you your daily bread. God is lonely without his sons, and they are lonely without him. They must learn to look upon the world as a means of healing the separation. The atonement is a guarantee that they will ultimately succeed.
hmm.
I think it's quite useful to be saying the children of God, because that's kind of set the mood for me for the whole paragraph, is that as a child, you should be able to trust and be comfortable and, live in complete trust that everything's working out as just as it should. And just to keep going on my playful way. This is what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. I love this one line where it says, the atonement is the only gift that is worthy of being offered at the altar of God because of the value of the altar itself. It was created perfect and is entirely worthy of receiving perfection. So do you guys think the altar is the physical body? The chakra system made in the image and likeness of all of creation, and that the atonement is our ability to see the light of God in all things. Do you think that makes sense to you guys?
I think it's what animates our body, so it's not our physical form.
Oh, I totally agree. It does. It's a vibration that holds the cells of the body together.
Yeah.
What I love about quantum physics is that it states that physicality is really an illusion. All it is atomic matter vibrating at different frequencies that gives the appearance of different densities of matter. And I'm like, oh, that's trippy. So then my shirt is vibrating at a different density than my flesh or my ring or, the chair I'm sitting in. But ultimately, it's the same thing. It's a vibratory resonance moving through time and space.
I want what you're having. It did sound trippy.
It did, didn't it? But I think it's true. I really do think it's true.
I know it's hard to get your brain around that, though, isn't it? Unless you think about it for a bit. Hey, baby.
That's kind of, I guess, where the oneness comes from, is when we can get into that state of meditation where we feel one with everything. And I think that's what causes healing and causes our vibration to change.
I would agree.
It's so powerful. Yeah. It's such a powerful thing to do. Oh.
So is there any other comments on this paragraph?
Has it helped the previous one? Let's see.
I didn't think it added much clarity to the previous one, but I could be missing something.
Well, I think paragraph 4 needs the meditation I was just talking about. I don't think we're going to solve that right now. If there's any further, I might read that one again, meditate on that.
Well, do we want to read it again before we go on?
Yeah, just to check in. Shall I have a go reading it this time? Yeah.
You want to read it, V? Or you want to read it?
No, V can read it.
Spiritual vision literally cannot see error and merely looks for atonement. All solutions the physical eye seeks dissolve. Spiritual vision looks within and recognizes immediately that the altar has been defiled and needs to be repaired and protected. Perfectly aware of the right defense, it passes over all others, looking past error to truth. Because of the strength of its vision, it brings the mind into its service. This reestablishes the power of the mind and makes it increasingly unable to tolerate delay, realizing that it only adds unnecessary pain. As a result, the mind becomes increasingly sensitive to what it would once have regarded as minor intrusions of discomfort.
Oh. Okay, I kind of get it more. You guys get it more?
Yeah.
Okay. It's still going back to the spiritual vision of seeing the oneness of God in all things. And when we procrastinate, our pain increases. And when we align our minds to that state of oneness, we become increasingly sensitive to minor intrusions because we don't want to waste any more time. That's what I got from it anyways.
Yeah, beautiful quote.
Linda, did you kind of get that?
Yeah, your explanation of it makes it more reasonable.
Okay.
All right, shall we, what are we on to now? Healing is a release from fear. Do we want to start on it? We've got 8 minutes to go.
We can read a paragraph. We'll see how far we go. B, you want to do it?
Yeah.
Or you want me to do it?
I'm happy to do it. Our emphasis is now on healing. The miracle is the means, the atonement is the principle, and healing is the result. To speak of a miracle of healing is to combine two orders of reality inappropriately. Healing is not a miracle. The atonement, or the final miracle, is a remedy, and any type of healing is a result. The kind of error to which atonement is applied is irrelevant. All healing is essentially the release from fear. To undertake this, you cannot be fearful yourself. You do not understand healing because of your own fear. Ooh.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Wow.
The miracle is the means, the atonement is the principle, and healing is the result. Love that.
This is kind of like, for me, this feels like even another level above what Ina Segal does with her book of the secrets of healing your, what's it called?
The secret language of your body.
Yeah, yeah. This is kind of like the next level for me. This is kind of understanding yourself more, so that the pain or the ailment just falls away.
It was so interesting. I was working with a client right before our call, a brand new person who heard me speak on some webinar meeting thing. And he said, I've studied this stuff forever, and I've never heard anyone ever say what you said. And then I asked him, I said, what is the thing that you require to find a miracle in? And he said, my lower back I'm in constant pain all the time. And I said, what are the vertebrae that are subluxated? And he said, L4 and L5. And so I read the spine from Ina Segal's book, and everything I read, every single aspect of everything that was in those 2 paragraphs, by the time I was done reading, he was just sobbing. I said, so this is appropriate for you, what you've been experiencing? And he goes, every single word of it. And I'm like, awesome. Now we know where to work. Because the body is a biocomputer for the subconscious mind. It tells us where our subconscious mind is out of balance, where our soul and our spirit's out of balance and misaligned to the totality of who we are. And so our body's screaming at us that this is where we have to do the work. But unfortunately, very few people know what to do with that information. Until you know what to do with the information, it does you no good to know about what is causing the pain. Because it seems like something insurmountable, but it's not. It's surmountable.
Mm.
Well, I'm feeling kind of complete for tonight. How about you guys?
Mm.
Glad we read that last one too. That's
Yeah, that last one was really good.
yeah. Yep.
So let's do our word for the night. Who's going to go first?
I'm kind of thinking I have no fear of the message that my body's sending me.
Awesome.
I'm listening.
Linda? Good. Linda?
I'm just going to steal that sentence in there because I'm really into that. The miracle is the means, the atonement is the principle, and the healing is the result. I love that.
It is very beautiful.
Mm.
I want to write that down before I say mine because I think that that's really powerful. Excuse me while I do this. Is this okay with everyone?
Go for it.
The atonement is the principle. And the healing is the result. So my word is the atonement is the way.
Nice.
Beautiful. All right.
Okay, gang. I'm going to go for a very dusky walk by the lake right now.
Have a nice time.
It is beautiful there. So you guys have an incredible evening, and I will see you next week.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds wonderful.
Okay, stay away from those
Bye.
foxes. See ya. Bye.